This video is our final video on changing to slope-intercept form. Okay, let's review. What is slope-intercept form? That's right. Y equals mx plus b. Remember that song from the video, the talent show that they did? The YMCA, they changed it. Y equals mx plus b. That's a really good way to remember this formula that we've been working with. Okay, so when we're talking about changing to slope-intercept form, that means we are looking at things like your practice problems here, okay? We are looking at equations where we have a lot of things going on. And when I look at this, does it look like it's written y equals a number times x plus or minus another number? I don't think so, okay? This is very, very different. So, what do we do when we're given something like this, and how do we make it look like our slope-intercept form, okay? So the first step to take, okay, we're looking at our order of operations. You guys probably learned this a long time ago. It's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, okay? This is any equation. The first thing that we do is parentheses, okay? We distribute. We do exponents. So if anything is squared or cubed, we look at that next. We do multiplication. That's our M. What do you think our D is? Good. Division. Then we do addition. And last thing we look at in the problem is subtraction, okay? This is just an order when you're given an equation. This is the way that you look at it, okay? These are the first steps that you take. Solve through something. So when you're given these equations, the first thing that I'm going to tell you to look at is anything in parentheses, okay? If there are parentheses, you need to distribute or multiply, okay? That means if you were given something that looks like, let's see, I'll write it down here. If you're giving something like 2 parentheses 3x plus 2, when you distribute, that means you multiply this 2 by both parts of that, okay? So I do 2 times 3x plus, you keep that, 2 times 2, okay? I distribute and I have 6x plus 4, okay? This is step 1. If you have parentheses that need something distributed to them or multiplied, that would be your very first thing to do, okay? Your second step is to combine like terms. Do you guys remember what like terms are? This is like saying if I have a 2x and a negative 3x, what is 2x plus negative 3? I can put those together and I can say that I have negative 1x or negative x, okay? The next one, for slope-intercept form, you need to get y alone on one side of the equation, okay? You need to make sure that y is the only thing on one side of the equal sign. Everything else should be on the other side because it says y equals everything else, right? So you should be able to get y alone on the other side. And to do that, you might need to add or subtract the numbers or the variables, okay? That's your x's. You might need to subtract or add them. Remember, we always do the opposite, okay? We'll look at this a little more in our practice problems, but the big thing is that step 3, we're getting y alone on one side of the equation. All right, step 4, your very last one, you need to divide by the coefficient of y. So if you have something like 2y equals 4x plus 6, you need y by itself, okay? You have all the y's on this side, but there's still a coefficient of 2. You need to take this 2 and divide both sides by it, okay? So you would get something like y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, I just wrote over our very last part, so I'm going to erase that a little bit so you can look at it. Remember, to move a number to the other side of the equation, what do we have to do? I said it earlier, we must do the opposite, right? Okay, that means if something is being added on one side of the equal sign, we have to subtract it onto the other side. Or if it's being multiplied, we need to divide by it, correct? All right, let's try just a few examples here together, okay? I'm going to erase what we wrote up here earlier. All right, our very first problem up there is negative 4y equals 2, parentheses, so that means multiplication, 3 minus 5x, close parentheses. Okay, guys, what do we do on this one? Let's go back and look at our steps. What we said, the very first thing we're looking for, if there's parentheses, we're distributing. Do you see parentheses in my first problem? Okay, you're right here. So we need to take the 2 and distribute it. Okay, that means we multiply it by everything that's inside those parentheses. So now I can say negative 4y equals 2 times 3 plus, I'm going to keep the negative with my 5, I'm going to say negative 5 times 2, okay? You could say negative here, and then it would work out. But I think sometimes it's easier to think of the negative with the number. You are adding a negative, remember? Okay, so if I simplify that, I have negative 4y equals 6 plus, let's see, we had negative 5x times 2. What does that equal? Negative 10x. All right, good job. So let's go back and look here at our next steps. Combine like terms. Do we have any places where we have multiple x's or multiple y's? I don't think we do in this one, do we? We have all our x's together here and all of our y's together over here. So I think we can move on to the next step. It says get y alone on one side of the equation. So let's look. Do we have all of the y's on one side and everything else, so x's and any numbers, on the other side? Yeah, I think we do. Okay. Moving on to our very last one, it says divide by the coefficient of y. What is the coefficient of y here? Do we have that? Good. It's negative 4. So we need to divide both sides by negative 4, correct? All right, let's do that then. Divide by negative 4, and divide this side of the equation by negative 4. Okay, negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. We cancel that, so we have y equals, what is 6 divided by negative 4? Those are both multiples of 2, so you could say 3 halves, and is that positive or negative? Remember, we have positive 6 divided by negative 4. Your answer should be negative. So negative 3 halves plus this last part is also being divided by negative 4. So negative 10 divided by negative 4. Those are both multiples of 2 again. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, is it positive or negative? I have negative 10 divided by negative 4. I think it stays positive, okay? And this isn't just 5 halves, it's 5 halves x, okay? So, does this look like y equals mx plus b? Something times x plus b. It's close, okay? Maybe it would help us to write, for our very final one, y equals 5 halves x plus 3 halves. Right? So for our final one, when we look at it, we can easily see our m here with the x, m times x plus our b, or our y-intercept, right? Okay, guys, that was a lot of steps. I know it was. It's going to be a lot to work through, so we got to try and keep it straight. Let's try and move on to our next one, okay? So we're going to do number 2. It says 2x plus 3y equals 8x minus 12. Okay, back to our steps over here. The first one says we're looking for parentheses or anything that we can distribute. Do you see parentheses in problem number 2? No, it doesn't look like we have any, so let's go back. Now we need to combine like terms. So if we have 2 x's out there, or plus another 2 x's, we need to combine them, or y's need to go together, okay? Do you see any like terms? Well, first I see a 2x, a 3y, and an 8x, right? We see multiple spots here. Okay, so our x's need to go together, and our y's go together, but it looks like they already are. How do we get 2x and 8x to combine? What do you think? Remember, we have to do the opposite. So since it is plus 2x here, I need to subtract it from both sides, okay? So plus 2x minus 2x cancels out, becomes 0. And I have 3y equals 8x minus 2x, that's 6x minus 12. Okay, what's looking pretty close? Remember, the next thing says to get y alone on one side of the equation. I think that we have our y's on one side of the equation with nothing else. So let's move to our last step that says divide by the coefficient of y. What is our coefficient of y in this case? Good, it's 3. So we have to divide everything by 3. So if we divide here by 3, it might be helpful to divide each of these terms by 3 for you, okay? If that's helpful to write it that way so you can see where you need to do division, that's perfectly okay. All right, so we're left with y equals, what is 6 over 3? Good, 2x minus, I see, 12 divided by 3. Good, that's 4. So we have y equals 2x minus 4. Does this look like y equals mx plus b? Yeah, I think it does, okay? We have an m of 2 and a b of negative 4, right? This is the same thing as saying y equals 2x plus negative 4. So that works. All right, you guys, I think we're getting the hang of it. Let's try a few more. We have a 4 that doesn't want to erase very well. Sorry, guys. Okay, our third problem up here says negative 3 times our parentheses 2x minus 4 plus y equals 0. Okay, who can tell me what we do first? That's right, we're doing our parentheses first. So we need to distribute our negative 3 to both terms in the parentheses. Okay, so we have negative 3 times 2x plus negative 3 times negative 4, right? Plus y, because we keep the rest of our equation, equals 0. All right, when we look at this, negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x plus negative 3 times negative 4. Well, we know a negative times a negative is positive, and 3 times 4 is 12. So positive 12 plus y equals 0. Okay, remember our next step, we need to combine any like terms that we have. Do you see a place to combine like terms? I have a negative 6x up here and a y. And I think that's it. I would say that they are already combined because there are no other addition or subtraction or multiplication parts for us to look at, okay? So since they're all combined, we need to get y alone on one side of the equation. How do you think we could do that? Well, I think there's a couple choices. We could subtract y, right, to the other side. Because 0 minus y would be negative y. But we don't want it to be negative. So let's think of a different way. Instead of moving y, could we move some of the other terms? I think we could. So let's move 6x first, negative 6x. If it is being subtracted on this side, since it's negative, we need to do the opposite, right? So we need to add it to both sides of the equation. All right? I'm going to write it up here, what we have in just a second. Now we're left with 12 plus y equals, when we add 0 plus 6x equals 6x, right? We don't need the 0 there anymore because it stands for nothing, right? All right, so is y alone on one side of the equation? Not quite, right? We still have a positive 12 here. How do we move that to the other side? We need to subtract 12 from both sides, okay? Subtract 12. So now we have y equals 6x minus 12. And here we can see our m, our slope is 6, and our b is negative 12. Okay, guys, we're down to our very last one. I believe in us. All right. Our last one down here at the bottom is negative 5x minus 10 equals negative 15. That's really, really low down there, so I'm going to write it up here for us to work through it. Negative 5x minus 10y. Oops. Sorry, guys. Let's do this really quick. You need to calibrate. Okay, negative 5x minus 10y equals negative 15. Okay, so first step was parentheses. Do you see any parentheses to distribute? I do not. What was our second step? Combining like terms. Are our like terms already combined, or do we need to keep doing that? I don't think so. So our third step is to get y alone. How do we get y's alone on one side of the equation? It looks like we need to move our 5x up here. So if we have negative 5x, what can we do to get that to the other side of the equation? We need to add 5x to both sides, right? Okay, so now we have negative 10y equals negative 15 plus 5x, right? Now, our very last stage, we need to divide the coefficient of y so we can get just one y instead of negative 10 y's, right? So we divide both sides by negative 10. Okay? And negative 10 divided by negative 10 cancels, and we're left with y equals negative 15 divided by negative 10, that's 3 halves, plus 5 divided by negative 10 is negative 1/2 x. Should we rearrange these so we can see them in y equals mx plus b? I think that wouldn't be a bad idea, okay? Y equals negative 1/2 x, we put our x term first, plus 3 halves. And now we can see our m and our b. Okay, guys, so these are a lot of steps. It shouldn't be totally new on how you do this, but it might be a little difficult at first. Remember, your ultimate goal is to get it to look like y equals mx plus b. Okay, go ahead and start trying some of your practice problems at this point.